to Raunchy Power Hour, a book club for discussing romance from the erotic to the erroneous. As always, this is an explicit podcast and contains strong language, adult themes, and sexual content. If you are sensitive to these things, we urge you calmly but sincerely to turn off your radio now. This month, we are reading Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. This is part 2 of Lunar Love. This podcast will contain spoilers of the entire book. If you want to read along with us, stop listening now. It's okay. We'll wait for you to come back. This is our concluding episode of Lunar Love. If you haven't, please go listen to part 1. Yes, we'll wait again. This book contains themes of death of family members. You have been warned. I'm your producer, Ashlyn.
I'm a host, Sydney. What the fuck?
Now get ready to get raunchy.
Damn. Yeah? What's your question? I have an answer to this, actually. It would be The Kiss. I forget the name of it. I forget who created it. Give me just a moment. It's a very beautiful piece. It's like very, very tall and beautiful.
Gustav Klimt.
Thank you. I would publicly make out in front of that painting. One, because we technically wouldn't be alone because they're also making out in the painting. No, I'm not that kind of lovey-dovey person on social media. What about you? Why? Why that? I'm intrigued. Like the existential crisis that that person is having in the painting, and it's almost like okay, no, when you have PDA, understood.
I love that you've asked this, because not only do I have an answer, I have a visual aid.
Oh?
Postman by Van Gogh.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Because Van Gogh is my favorite artist, and Sunflowers, all like 15 versions that he's done, are my favorite works, but that's basic, and this is my second favorite.
That's really pretty. I've actually never seen that one before. I hate to call myself an arts student.
All of my phone backgrounds.
I also have The Kiss up, framed somewhere in my house because I love that painting so much. It's such a pretty painting.
I like that they made out in front of irises because I cried in front of irises.
Why was I thinking also David?
Two Crabs by Van Gogh.
Two crabs.
Picture incoming momentaneously.
Okay. Two Crabs by Van Gogh.
That's my third favorite. But the color of the background is its own character.
True. Beautiful. Oh my god. Well, she is crappy. We can't say that. We can't say she is something. But you know what she is the most? A horse. She is a horse. And what's Bennett? A rat. Yeah. No, she's not a whore. But and you know what? They're not compatible because she's a horse, he's a rat. He was a rat boy. She was a horse girl. Can I get Yep. I could tell. Anyway, Lauren, do you want to give us a quick rundown of what happened in the first half of this book, just to recap? Yep. I won't say anything. I'll mute myself. That was actually pretty good. That was pretty concise. You just got to bring up Popo, but that was like that's it. uh yeah, but this episode we're kind of finishing up our review. Kind of before we jump in, I just really want to say like it's really important to have voices of non-white authors out here. And I meant to say this in the first episode, and I feel bad that I didn't. So even though I'm critiquing this work very, very hard, there is value to like the space for those authors and like their stories. So I don't want to like this be taken in a way like I'm hating on this author because she's a woman of color, which is not my intention. I'm hating on this book because some things just don't make sense. But yeah, I just wanted to say that before, like at the beginning of the episode, just to make sure like that is clear and that is our intention, is just to critique and talk about this work, and not take away from the fact that we need more people of color in publishing. But now we've got the second date that Liv has set up for Harper and Bennett, and it's at the top of this mountain museum kind of area, and it's meant to be like drinking under the stars, and seeing a bunch of famous paintings. And Bennett shows up, and he's looking real snazzy, real cute, and Liv's like, oh, he's kind of cute. That's kind of crazy. She hands him the tickets, and then, uh-oh, call from Harper, and she cannot get away from work. And she's also not really interested in Bennett. She's like, meh, he's fine. I just don't really see a spark. And Liv's like, oh crap, we spent a lot of money on this that Lunar Love does not have. And Bennett's like, well, why don't you and I go on the date? And Liv's like, okay, well, this is a business meeting. Like, we're just business people talking. And I was like, sure you are. Anyway, romance ensues. They're out drinking wine on a balcony. They're stars. And then there's Vincent van Gogh's lilies. And then they make out. That's the chapter, really. It was okay. Like, I knew it was, I almost kind of wished there was only one kiss in the book. But that's just me. Like, if this was going to be like a true slow burn, they wouldn't be making eye contact right now. So yeah. I liked it. I liked the moment. I thought it was very sweet. And in another like setting, I definitely think I would be like swooning. But I think, like, I will say at this point in the book, I was reading it and liking it a little bit more. Like, it's very just classic movie kind of rom-com kind of kiss. So I was like, oh, that's cute. Yeah. Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I will say, so the next kiss I liked better. If that was their first kiss, I think I would have liked it a little more. Um, so kind of continue on when we get there. Oh, do you want to hear what I wrote down? Because this is when we find out, by the way, Liv opens up about like why she's so interested in Lunar Love and why she kind of like fell into it. And then this is where we find out that she's basically shaped her whole life around Lunar Love. For example, she went to college in town, but instead of, and then Bennett asked her, he goes, "Oh, so you're a business major?" She goes, "No, I was a psychology major." And no hate to psychologists out there, but I did write, well, no wonder she can't run a business. She trained as a psychologist. Yeah. I just, but I also don't understand why she would have trained. Like, she claims the reason she trained as a psychologist and got a psychology degree is though that she could understand why people fell in love. But that's not what psychologists do, is it? Oh, wait, we can't hear you. There you go. There you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This too is like, oh, you go on. Oh, interesting. 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 Yeah, it was it just kind of felt random that she trained in psychology because the way she acts about everything, it's very much like, oh, I can see it now. But she's like almost over analyzing, which is and analyzing based off of traits and all of that to see future compatibility. But like, that's not how psychologists work, I assume. Yeah. Which I feel like is an issue in psychology specifically. uh uh and then we get to chapter 15 where we get an instance of, we've mentioned this in the first part, where Popo's personality and Popo's perspective on life likes to flip-flop on us. Because we're not really sure where everything comes from. Because literally the only note I have in this chapter is, where did Popo's sternness come from? But anyway, it is Popo and Liv's monthly movie night. And they are making some dumplings and they're going to watch a rom-com together. That, and like, this is just their favorite little thing that they like to do. Um, but Popo's opinion really flip-flops, like, about tradition. She is very stringent, but she's also not. Like, she talks up. I think this is where she reveals that her and Gong Gong were not compatible. Was that this? Okay. And she reveals almost that she believes his death was because they weren't compatible. So then she created Lunar Love to kind of like overcorrect that because she was matched with someone else. So I'll be honest, I was very confused by this chapter. But she isn't, but it seems like she isn't as strict about it when it comes to like Liv's love life. So I'm kind of taking that as she's stringent on tradition until it hurts like someone she loves. Question mark? Uh mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Well, he says it was an accident. Yes, and she, like, treats it like it was, like, this big issue, like, a big problem, and I'm like, "But that wasn't your fault. You didn't know that they were mismatched. You didn't know that their compatibility was wrong." Yeah. 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 But it seems like, Popo kinda shares how she kind of suggests that the Chinese zodiac is meant to be more as a tool, not a way of life. Like, it's more meant to, like, which from what I've read about it, that is kind of how it is viewed. It's meant to help you decide things, but it's not a strict set of rules that you must only live by. Um, so it's just interesting to see where, like, I again, this comes back to Liv, though, as a character, where I don't understand where her traditional, like, like, this stringent for tradition and values and that came from. I don't understand, like, because she must have learned it, but I don't know where she learned it from. Yeah. Actually, Ashlyn, if you wouldn't mind looking this up for me, could you actually look up, because are horses typically stubborn? Because maybe we're missing like a whole component of Liv's character. Like, I'm trying to give it like her the benefit of the doubt here. Yeah. Yeah.
That's very accurate for the description that I'm reading. People born in the year of the horse are very high spirited, active, energetic. Their enthusiasm and cheerful personalities make people like them. They like to be the center of attention, and people enjoy their company.
That's not Liv.
They do tend to be quick tempered and impatient.
That's Liv.
Because of their necessity of freedom and independency, it's hard for them to adjust to a schedule prepared by someone else. Quick
That's
and
not
sharp
Liv.
mind. So what animals?
Yeah. Interesting. I just wanted to give that, like, that point that out, because I was like, well, maybe the author is trying to like play more heavily into the zodiac sign that Liv is, which is the horse. Because, like, I don't want to discredit that, and maybe we are missing that completely. If we are, like, please let us know. Like, that would be very helpful. Please correct us if we are wrong. But continuing on, we've got chapter 15. No, chapter 16. Oh no, in chapter 15, Bennett also texts Olivia and goes, "Hey, are you ready for your second date?" And she's like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, okay. And he also asked, do you want me to be there? And she says yes, because she likes him. She thinks she likes him. Yeah, she's like, ooh, he's cute. And then we get chapter 16, which I thought this was cute. I wish this was the first kiss. So they show up to the Monterey docks. Yep. Monterey area. Don't know. I feel bad. And she's like, okay, where's my date? And Benny's like, oh, he's just over here. He like goes behind something and he goes, ta-da! Because surprise, he's her date. And I was like, okay, that's cute. I was like, I thought it was cute. Ashlyn, what did you think? You're the tiebreaker here. Is it cute or cringe?
I saw it coming, but it was adorable.
It's cute. Lauren, you're just a Grinch.
Lauren doesn't like love.
No. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, so he has rented a boat and they are going to go on a picnic out on the ocean. But surprise, Liv's terrified of water for some reason and the ocean. I didn't know that. We also get the parasite thing brought up again. And it's just like, dear God, I'm over it. Please. And they go on the boat. She kind of chills out and then they have a cute little picnic and Liv actually finally opens up about the ex that she's been talking about quite a bit. Like she had an ex-boyfriend that was really bad. And apparently he was very manipulative and was just very demeaning of her work and what she loved to do. And then he was also cheating on her. And that is another reason she does not do incompatible couples. Which I think is a bad reason, but we'll get into it. Because obviously, like, your year sign will not determine whether or not you actively manipulate someone, but at the same time, she obviously has trauma that she has to heal from, and she's actively healing on. So I won't gripe on it too much at this point. But Bennett is really happy that Olivia's opening up to him a bit more, and they talk more about their businesses and how things are going. And we get a moment where this speedboat has gone by and Liv literally jumps into Bennett's arms and she's like freaking out. And while this is happening, she kind of leans back and then she just asks him to come as her +1 to her sister's wedding, which bold. He says yes. And they decide to call off the bet because they like each other. Ooh. Yes. That is very important. Yeah, very important. Thank you for pointing that out. And then they kiss. And this is the point where I was like, I kind of wish that was their first kiss because it was much more, yeah, more meaningful. I did write, I don't know where this book is going to go now. Like, I have no, I didn't know. I was just like, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to end. Because we were at the point where it was like 65, 70. I'm like, I know the 3/4 breakup is coming. Like, I know it's coming. So what's it gonna be about? Because I don't understand. Mm-hmm. See, yeah. See, I don't mind the repetition that of that plot point. But I am getting tired of the fact that it's always miscommunication. I would like it. Yeah, I would agree. Like, definitely not miscommunication. Maybe something along the lines of like tension is introduced. Like, if we did the podcast reveal, that would be really good. Well, I guess then you could argue that is miscommunication that entire time. No, it's not miscommunication because she'd be lying. That's not even miscommunication. She would be straight up lying. Yeah. Or then, or maybe he discovers that she's the one who wrote that scathing essay about Zoda Cupid. Or maybe she wrote a series and suddenly they're all coming out. I would have liked that tension, and like I would have liked to see how they navigate that and her I would have liked to see her then open up and be like, I fucked up. I wrote that when I was mad and I have changed because guess what? I love you, baby. But no, we get this. We get this next part. It's now Nina and Asher's wedding, and Liv is helping Nina get ready, and it's time to go down to the courthouse. There's like a small mention that Popo may not be feeling as good as everyone expected because she like trips. But that's just a very quick reference. But Liv meets Bennett at the courthouse, and it's all of Asher and Nina's friends and family. They get married. Yay. Now it's reception time. And she has hired a band or something, and apparently that's against Nina's wishes. She didn't want to dance for some reason. But then Nina's chill with it when she comes in. I would not be chill if someone put something that I've specifically requested not to happen at my wedding, but Nina's more chill than me, I guess. In Mandarin as well, which they don't speak fluently. But you forget the whole thing. But the whole thing is a Moon playlist. This is when I got really tired of the mention of the Moon playlist. Also, I don't know why Liv decides to threaten her future brother-in-law right as he's about to walk down the walk to the courthouse and like get married to his sister. I was like, this seems like an impromptu time. This was this felt this was a millennialism, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, and then yeah, and then this is the chapter where Popo is sitting with Liv and they're talking about compatibility because her and Bennett are actively like dating pretty much, except without the label. They haven't said will you be my girlfriend or boyfriend yet. But Popo then reveals that her and Gong Gong were also not compatible. And that's why she created Lunar Love. And they actively knew it. So I did write down at this point, Popo confuses me, Liv confuses me. I don't understand this world point of view about how compatibility works. Because 1 minute, it's all gung-ho, only compatibility, that's all we'll do. And the next, it's like, fuck compatibility. Actually, everyone who's been incompatible has pretty much worked out so far. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't understand that because they would know. They would know they were not incompatible. Yeah. Yeah. It's very confusing, and I got very confused where this was. Um. Anyway, it's dancing time. Popo gets Liv up to dance, and Liv wants Bennett to dance, but Bennett don't dance, and he refuses to dance. And Olivia starts getting anxious about how maybe he doesn't want attachment because Popo said when he first came to Lunar Love to learn about them, he seemed very concentrated on his work and wasn't like looking for anything. And she even tried to set Liv up with him, and he declined. And so Liv's like, well, he may not want something long term now, and da 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 da. And you know what this would all be fixed by? Talking to him. But that's just me. Yeah. It's not very psychologist of you. Yeah. Yep. Uh, and then we get to chapter 18, where we learn Bennett has been kind of doing the same thing that Liv's been doing this whole time. And we learn this because Harper has come back in to talk to Liv about a new match. Because obviously things with Bennett didn't work out. And it's revealed that Bennett and her actually planned the whole museum thing, and that's actually why she backed out. So I did write, I was like, I don't know, I don't understand why Bennett would do that. It is a bit manipulative. This is the only point in which I thought, okay, hey, Bennett, that wasn't cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then this was the point in the book where I didn't like it again. So from chapter 9 to chapter 18, I was like, this is okay. I kind of like this. From here on out, I didn't like it. And I struggled. I struggled with it hardcore. But yeah, they planned that, and Olivia is not happy. She's like, he's manipulated our entire relationship. He's just wanting to get to know me, to like get in all my family's secrets. I can't believe I opened up to him, and yada 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 yada. And I'm like, girlfriend, you need to take a step back and take a breather, because you would benefit from a therapist. Because obviously there's a lot of trauma to unpack there. And things just get worse because after Harper has left, Carol the realtor shows up with none other than Benton and Elmer in tow. Benton?
Not Benton.
Bennett. I'm so sorry.
That is a different book.
Benton Kessler. Dear God, not again.
He shows up again.
Not again! Get away! Go write your shitty poetry somewhere else. But yeah, Bennett and Elmer are in tow because they're looking at more permanent places. Bennett didn't realize that they'd be looking at Lunar Love, and Liv is obviously on the defense yet again, being like, well, what are you doing here? You're just trying to sweep my family's business from under me and everything. And it's just like, damn. And Elmer's being a dick. Don't know why. Apparently he was just mad that that Bennett knew that she was their competitor. I don't know. Yes. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I felt that too. I was like, I feel like you know where she works. Yeah. Or like, for example, I know what your old address street was. And if someone mentioned, oh yeah, I live on da 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 da, I'd be like, oh, that was my old friend's address. Or like I knew that street. So yeah, it is a little weird. Yeah, it's a little weird. This whole little conflict thing didn't make sense. And it continues to not make sense. Because now we've got chapter 19. Um and I did mark because I was reading this on my Kindle so I could tell at what percentage I was at. And I said, at the 77% mark, we get the quote unquote breakup. Because at the end of chapter 18, Bennett, excuse me, asked Liv to come to his Zoda Cupid Halloween party where people are encouraged to dress up as their zodiac. And Liv's like, I'm not gonna go. And then she decides, I am gonna go. And she shows up to this party dressed as Rembrandt because early in the book, there's a reference to the fact that Rembrandt was also a horse. I'm confused why she called back to that. Anyway, she sees Bennett at like mingling, and there's this lady like obviously flirting with him, and Liv is just like, well, obviously he's seeing other people because she saw like his score went up on his dating app, which to be fair, I would ask my partner, be like, hey, what's that about? I know you're the CEO, but like would like to know if you're like using your profile for company reasons. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Um, but anyway, she runs into the podcast host from before, and he's dressed as a piece of bacon. So I assume he's a pig, which I know is in the Chinese zodiac. Um, and he reveals to be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, the bet, yeah, the bet's done." And she's like, "What do you mean? We called it off?" He goes, "No, you lost." And she's like, what are you talking about? So she, of course, storms over to Bennett and is just like, we need to talk now. And like, how dare you? Are you trying to ruin my family business? And they go to a corner and she asks him about the peonies thing. And he's like, my account is being used for company things to test out all of the different features on the app. And then she's like, well, who told them that the bet was done and that I lost, that I fell in love? And he's like, it was probably Elmer. And she does bring up a good point. She goes, does Elmer control you? Is he like your partner or something? And he goes, no, he's just very involved. And I was like, I would have a stern talking to with Elmer. That's very much. And they fight it out, and Bennett has some good quotes about this, because he's like, do you think I'm like just some evil businessman who's trying to like steal from you and like your family business? Like, I'm not. You've got to be open to people. Like, people aren't out to hurt you. And basically says that to her face, and she's like, no, I can't do it. And they break up, quote unquote. I was about to ask you, Lauren, how do you feel about that? I mean, we've kind of talked about it a bit. The 3/4 breakup. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Understood. If y'all have any good suggestions on a third like act breakup due to miscommunication, like a good example, we need a good example, drop it down below. Please let us know. And now we've done a little bit of a time skip. It's about a week later, and Alicia and Liv are taking a hike up a mountain. It's the same mountain that Bennett likes to walk up, apparently, sometimes. And I'm like, girl, you're obviously obsessed with him. And they are walking up the mountain, and Olivia's still very, very sad about everything. And they get to like this stopping point, and Alicia gives, you know, just the typical romance book, sagely best friend advice about how you have to like let go and you have to try new things and so on and so forth. And she's like, oh, well, you know, you're letting the zodiac thing get in your way. And, you know, compatibility isn't the only thing that matters. And by this instance, I will say the nail home thing about how compatibility isn't everything, like the theme of it was getting on my nerves. I was like, okay, I get it. Please stop nailing it in. I am tired of it. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, and Olivia's like, yeah, I guess you're right, Alicia. Out of everyone who's told me this, I will listen to you. And Alicia's like, good. Here's the episode of the podcast that Bennett was on. This is also when it's revealed that it was only on the 13th episode that they had a live audience that they were releasing this podcast to. And I was like, damn, that I feel like that size of a podcast, a 13 episode, little unrealistic, but that's just me. Anyway, unless you're a celebrity. Anyway, it's revealed that Bennett it says like, oh well, actually, I should give all the credit to Lunar Love, and he does like a whole piece about and was very heartfelt about Lunar Love. And he goes, well, I have to say all this because I'm the one who lost the bet, which means he's basically confessing his love to Olivia. And I was just like, I don't like public confessions of love because it just feels so impersonal, but that's just me. You have no idea. I get that it's like a big moment, but yeah, it was a little strange. So she's like, oh my gosh, she said he loves me. Let me go to his pitch for the app and let me go. So she runs down the mountain. Yeah, and then she runs down the mountains. And chapter 12. Not chapter 12. What are we on? Chapter 21. This chapter got so messy. This was such a messy chapter. Two things that come from nowhere. Yes. Yeah, honestly, well, so I was like, okay, so she's gonna go to the pitch and then she'll like go up on stage and be like, and I know it works because I found her, like kind of thing. And then spotlight, she comes up on stage, kiss, like I thought that's what was gonna happen. No, that is not what happened. So she shows up to the pitch, she's in leggings and like her tank top or something. And he's like stammering over his words, and then suddenly he looks at her and he instantly calms down and is able to like get through the pitch. But she doesn't even stay for the full thing because she gets a phone call from her dad. She steps outside and she's like, hey dad, what's up? And he goes, hey, I hate to tell you this over the phone, but Popo died in her sleep last night. I'm sorry to laugh. I am sorry to laugh. But I literally wrote in my notes, why did Popo have to die like that? Yeah. Yeah. So like I want to argue that that's like sometimes that is the reality of a loved one passing away. It is just so sudden. But like in the romance book context, it did not make sense. But then the chapter continues to not make sense because Olivia is obviously devastated. Her beloved Popo has passed away. So she goes to a place that's comforting her, which is Lucky Monkey, which has not been referenced since the beginning of the book. Yeah. They're name dropped. Yeah. And then we hear nothing about them for the rest of the book until this moment. So she goes there, and it's big because they were really good friends with Popo. And Liv walks into the kitchen where suddenly, and without warning, her ex-best friend is sitting in the kitchen. And her ex-best friend literally comes up to her and she goes, I'm just so sorry about Popo. I'm like, the whiplash. I'm like, what is happening? Yeah. Um, literally, because I was like, well, Alicia already fills a role of bestie. So I don't know why we have to have like this huge communication thing with Colette. I mean, I knew it was I knew at some point it would happen, but I thought it'd be like, I don't know, just in passing, Colette and I have gotten back in touch. Oh, I would have loved it. Because it's almost kind of like a realistic relationship where something traumatic like that happens. And sometimes you kind of just don't want to talk to the person or heal. And that's very valid. Yeah. Yeah. But Colette's like, I'm so sorry about your popo. And Liv's like, how did you know I'd come here? She goes, you always came here when you were sad or something. Then they lament about like their childhood and all of that, which I was just like, this is not the time. Her grandma literally just died in her sleep last night. But then it reveals that Colette left because she was just like so embarrassed by like what happened, and she thought Liv was upset with her because Liv made the match through Lunar Love, and Colette has been back. So bad. So bad. And hey, they're best friends again, and they decide to go bake because they're sad with that. And that's all I remember. I'll be real. I don't remember any of their other conversation within that. And you can tell that how I felt about this book is getting shorter and shorter, like my patience for it, because my notes are becoming significantly shorter and shorter by the chapter. Yeah. So we got chapter 22, and they plan the funeral, and then it is the funeral, and then and then here is listeners and fellow co-host, my favorite thing I wrote down during this book, and I wrote down, randomly dancing at a funeral was not in my romance book 2024 bingo card. All right. So for context, listeners, so the funeral happens. Popo wanted it to be like a celebration of her life. She didn't want people to be sad. Which fair. And what Liv proceeds to do is give this very heartfelt like speech after she's done this ceremonial like laying of this blanket over Popo's body, which is like meant to keep her warm in the afterlife. And then she turns on Popo's Moon playlist and starts just randomly dancing to be like, because this is meant to be fun. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. And then guess who's there to help her feel a little bit better about dancing by herself? It's Bennett! No public dancing Bennett! He gets up and dance, and then everybody's dancing. Oh my god. And literally the next chapter, it talks a lot about what a funeral offering is and like a tradition, which I thought was really cool. I'll be honest, I wanted more. I wanted more about the traditions and everything. I felt like it was honestly skipped out on some of the things, and I wish there was more. Like, I wanted to know more about not only the horse and the rat, but we also barely learned about their zodiac characteristics. But I wanted more learning about that. Like, I wanted more of that injected into the story. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, well, do you realize why it's a horse and a rat? Because it's Liv and Bennett's sign. Yeah, okay. Okay. That took me a while while reading the book to understand. I was like, why do they keep switching? I was like, oh. Yeah. Yeah. But they do this really cool funeral offering, which basically it's a bunch of paper assorted items like house, money, clothes, other essentials, but then also like expensive things like a yacht or wine and stuff like that. And it's meant to be a burned offering so that Popo can have all this stuff in the afterlife. And it was really beautifully kind of described, and Bennett is there. And then Liv invites him to dinner after the funeral. So funny enough, I also did read at this point, I'm so done with this book. Just because I was just like, I'm ready for it to be over. Well, good luck past me, because there's only 2 more chapters after this. And in the second to last chapter, it's family dinner time. Liv is making dumplings, and Bennett comes in and he helps her, and then they're kind of like shooed away to like get out of the kitchen so that everyone else can like finish the cooking. And they go up on the roof of her house where there's a blanket laid out and a bucket. Not sure when Liv had this time to do that, or why this has been mentioned that she likes to climb up on the roof sometimes. But they have a heartfelt moment up there, and Liv like thanks him for coming to the funeral. And I will say this moment was very sweet. She brings out more funeral offerings, like the paper offerings, and he asks if it's to send up to Popo, and she goes, "No, I actually got these for your mom." Which I was like, "Oh, okay, wait, that was cute. That's the side of Olivia I wanted to see." And he's obviously very touched. She brought up like a bunch of items, but she also brought up not the original documents, but scanned documents of the match between Bennett's parents. I will say, I hate that they lit the bucket on top of the roof because I feel like that is such a fire hazard. But they also talk about some other things because Liv, it's a very full circle moment because Liv also posted another article reviewing Zoda Cupid and how she also thinks their service worked because she also lost the bet. And he's like, oh, "You fell in love with me?" And she's like, "Yeah, I did." But yeah, which I think, and then it's reminded that at this point they have known each other for, I would say at the max, 2 months. They're like, "I'm just different with when I'm with you. You've changed me as a person." I'm like, in 2 months? Yeah. I would say a month and a half. Yeah, I would say a month and a half because they met like right before, and then the whole month bet thing came like after their second or third time seeing each other. True. You're not wrong. And they admit that they love each other. They kiss, and mwah, 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 mwah. And then epilogue time, basically. I'm going to call this epilogue. It's the final chapter. So funny enough, I did write down, honestly, so it's Lunar New Year, everybody. It's 4 months later. And surprise, Zoda Cupid and Lunar Love are teaming up and are merging together. And everyone's But now, yeah, but they're all gonna be a big happy family, and everything's gonna work out. So funny enough, listeners, this is where Lauren and I had a different perspective on the book, specifically because I thought throughout the entirety of the book that Randall and Alicia were together. I thought they were an item, not. And then Randall randomly shows up, and surprise, he actually has a husband. And I was like, okay, gay rights. Yeah. Yeah. Because in the book, I thought Alicia and Randall were together, but that's just me. I could have missed it. But yeah, 4 months later, everyone's happy, including even Harper and a guy that was mentioned earlier in the book, and he's not worth mentioning. The end. Oh my god.
I can try. Okay, let's see what I can do. Okay, Sydney and Lauren. Please do the theme. Wait, no, go back. Do the theme. I'm so glad that I have a spinny chair. The spinny chair is going away soon, so I'm so happy that I was able to do that one last time. It's a crappy chair. What do you think that the future holds for Olivia and Bennett's relationship?
Not good. Not good.
I'll remind you that we are live, so I'm going to need your answers to be concise.
Mine was pretty concise. Not good. Just based off of vibes, dude. Very low frequency. Yeah, I agree that like their wavelengths are just off. They're not on the same wavelength, and like it's okay if you're not on the same wavelength with your partner, but like when you're at the base of it, you gotta be, you know. Yeah, because these ones were off.
That was awful. Thank you.
Welcome.
So I had this question blurred out for just in case you were viewing my document ahead of time. This is the first book we've read that is not smut. Despite the fact that we are from the erotic to the erroneous, it's all been erotic. So what do you think of the lack of sex in this book? And can you talk about the importance of romance without sex in literature?
You go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Snaps, snaps, snapping, clapping. I will actually say I agree. Because interestingly enough, I think I said this a while ago. I said if I'm going to read a romance book, I kind of want smut, you know? But I take that back. I fully agree that there are instances with romance where sex does not need to be involved. This book was a great example. Like, I feel like if there were inclusions of sex scenes with Bennett and Liv, it would feel too forced. Like, it wouldn't feel natural. It wouldn't feel like it was even in their character for them to have like this supercharged sexual energy. And honestly, the one moment that she mentions like him, like he like grabbed the small of her back or something, and I was like, and that was the spiciest we got. I was like, I'm cool with that. I think this is a very good. I think having non-sexual romance books is very important, like what you said, for people who are either A, just not comfortable reading smut, or B, are asexual and don't want to read that, but they want to read a romance book, and it's very important. So I fully agree with that. And not adding the sexual tension also took away that pressure of, I think the issue that we have with smut books is when we feel like the two characters are pushed together because of their sexual attention and that they like each other because they bone. And that's it. Yeah. Virgin novels. Product to the erroneous to the virgins.
Would you read Lauren Kung Jessen's next book, her new book?
Yes. And the reason I answer that so quickly is because while this was not, obviously, this was not my cup of tea, I have shit on this book quite a bit throughout this entire review. And Lauren Kung Jessen, if you are listening, I am very sorry. I know that this is like a piece of art to you and you put your heart and soul into this. But I don't want this review to be a dissuade for her to grow. Because obviously, this is her debut book. And I've never debuted a book before. I've never gotten it on Book of the Month within the first month of publishing.
And we've read books by authors that are well in their years that have written shit.
Exactly. And if this is her debut novel, honestly, keep doing what you're doing. I can honestly see her growing to be a very strong author. And I'm actually legitimately interested in reading another book by her, just to like see her grow as an author and as a writer and how she characterizes her characters, and especially to learn, like, have more perspectives of Asian characters in romance books, which we lackingly see, and I want to see more of that. Yes. Mhm. What? Yeah. No, no, guys, no hate to the author at all. All the hate to her to the main character, though. Hmm. Yeah. Also, just in the romance genre in general, that there is somewhat an oversaturation of that character trope right now. But because it's trying to overbalance the super feminine, I can't help myself kind of trope. And if we could just find a way to get ourselves in the middle there where we have a character who's confident in herself, but she's not so headstrong that she becomes like the antagonist of her own story, that'd be great. Yes. And also communicate. Hmm.
What would your rating out of 5 for this book be?
So I gave it a 3. That was that is my rating. Um so here's kind of what I wrote down. Like, I wrote down a full review just in my little notebooks and in my notebook, and I said story wasn't bad, but it wasn't like super great either. The characters are a little stale, like typical grumpy sunshine. I like I did really love Bennett trying to find connection to his ancestors through Cupid and all of his research through the Chinese zodiac. But Liv wasn't super likable as a character. Um, the ending was a little drawn out. Like, that was the only issue I saw with timing. Um, but however, I did really like the middle part of the book. That was a very good sweet spot era. I'm a sucker for little sweet people realizing, oh wait, I do like him, kind of thing. Because it was just people starting to like let their guard down and get to know each other, which I really liked. And the inclusions of the Chinese zodiac and all of the different Chinese traditions was very interesting. And I honestly, like, it did inspire me to do more research, which I think is one point of the book. And if that is the case, then that was very well done. So I gave it a 3 stars because it was a great concept. And overall, I can see, like, I understand the appeal and I see it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, gosh, I would not put this anywhere near what we've read, like with the Mister or with some of the other pieces of atrocities we've read. Yeah. Yeah, keep it up. Please keep it up.
Honestly, there are very few books that we rate in the 4 range. I don't think we've rated anything a perfect 5, but very few things crack like 4 for us.
Yeah.
Maybe we're bitchy.
We might be.
If you think you know the right stuff, you should tell us. Hey Sid, where can they tell us?
They can tell us out on our Instagram, which is at the RPH podcast, or on our Twitter. And we also have a TikTok. Go on there and go see all of our funny little videos that we put up. Or if you want to hear more of our voices, we actually are on all places where you can listen to podcasts, except apparently Google Podcasts, because they will be closing soon. So they suggested to us that you can listen to us on YouTube Music, but hey, we're on Apple Music, Spotify, all those good things. And if you want to know, like, you want to tell us what stuff we may want to read, go onto our Instagram, and we have a little sheet that you can fill out and submit books for us to read. And that's kind of all we have tonight. So thank you for tuning in to our part 2 of Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. And like I said, if you want to go listen to us, you should go listen to us. Anyway, with that, I will say good night to all you pretty people.
Join us in 2 weeks for our first episode of the second Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. It's also our year anniversary, so we're very excited.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Raunchy Power Hour. Find us on Instagram and Twitter at the RPH Podcast. Send us book recs to our email, raunchypowerhour@gmail.com, or at the link in our bio on any of our socials. As always, stay raunchy.